everyone, and welcome to another episode of Dream Oracle for You. I am your host, Sarah, and as always, we have my wonderful co host, Billiana. Today is episode 28, and we don't know where today's conversation is going to go. As always, we're just going to let it flow. But it's my pleasure to introduce our guest today, and that is Justin McCarthy, and he's from the Jus Talking podcast. And we'll hear more about him in a few minutes. Billiana, as always, would you like to welcome the show?
Yes, I'm super excited as always, and I'm actually excited because I don't only know a little bit about Justin, and so it'd be good to hear something new about you, and then also I had a quick peek about your podcast as well, and it seems like you run your podcast like as not an interview, but just kind of like general conversation, just let it flow naturally and everything. So that's what resonated with me too. So I was like, yeah, cool. We're not going to be like going through a series of questions. We can just have a good chat and share ideas because at the end of the day, I don't think anyone really knows what dreams are and like we're all trying to figure it out. So it's really good to have just genuine conversations about it. Yeah, just with everyday people. So, yeah, Justin, introduce yourself any way you like.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Sarah and Billiana. Appreciate you having me on. I love that you reached out and asked for me to come on. I love being a guest. I was a guest on a podcast for like different podcasts for probably like 2 years, and then I kept saying to myself, I'm like, I have to do this. I have to do this myself and get on there. And there's so many people that are doing it today, and I'm trying to get to that episode 21. I have like an hour long podcast, and they're unscripted, raw conversations. I let my curiosity kind of be the interviewer itself, and I run through that, and I bring people on that I'm interested in. I see either pique my interest from something I hear about them, or see them, or hear them speak, and they're good speakers and conversationalists. So I like to be able to bring them on and have that conversation with them. The Just Talking podcast, yeah, is quite new and fresh, but the feedback that I've been getting so far, even from my parents, is really nice. My dad just sent me a message today. He drives every 2 weeks, 5 hours to his job and to go for 2 weeks. And he's like, I finally like put on one of your episodes, and he's like, I just want to like crush them all. He's like, I can't believe it. He's like, I'm really proud, and this is the first time I've heard him say something very significant like that. It's not that he doesn't give me compliments. I don't have one of those fathers that is like hard on love, but it's the first time that I've heard him really give a heartfelt compliment, which was really nice. The other things that I do, I've been working in plant medicine, psychedelic therapy for almost 3 years, and I also work as a coach, and I'm dipping my toe into moving into corporate wellness. So as I kind of move my coaching practice from working with the general public, I'm gone now towards and doing a lot of market research towards working in a business or corporate space to be able to offer my expertise and my kind of take on what it is that can help with the wellness within that corporate space that we all either been in or have seen or have friends in that isn't quite coming, I guess, into the 21st century with mindfulness and wellness and these things. So I want to be able to go in and help and bring a different perspective, a fresh perspective into these places. And I'm already feeling very optimistic about it as I step into this space that they are bringing some of it in, but they do need help. And I guess that's why I've been kind of led or called over to go into that space. So a bit of tools in my tool bag. I'm also a 10-year military veteran in Canada, from Newfoundland, living in New Brunswick. And yeah, there's lots to my story, but I guess I'm living the dream in itself, in a sense. The highs and lows. Sometimes it feels like a nightmare or something I'm trying to run from. And other times it feels like it's a beautiful dream, and that is life. I see life as kind of the dream. So maybe we can dive into that, and I'd love to get your guys' points or what you think about dream world versus, or if it is in comparison to, the real life that we kind of perceive here, that we can share, that seems so vivid. And then in comparison to that dream state, because I've had some extremely vivid dreams, also being under the medicine of psychedelics like ayahuasca, 5-MeO, DMT, bufo, and mushrooms. That's been pretty profound, and that felt like some dream spaces or kind of metaphysical spaces that I've been into as well. So it's really interesting to think about dreams.
Amazing. Oh my goodness. I could just listen to you talk all day. And I have listened, kind of done like your dad's done, and just crush all your episodes kind of all in a row. Where do I start? um, yeah, it's really great to hear all the different things that you're involved in, and in particular the plant medicine. I think that's something I'd like to continue a conversation with you off off air some other time or whatnot. That's not exactly part of dreams, because I definitely have an interest in medicinal plants, and especially in Atlantic Canada, we have, the Mi'kmaq and all of their natural remedies and stuff. So definitely have an interest in that. And shout out to fellow Newfoundlander, bringing it home. Also living off the rock. Moved away when I was 18. And yeah, so do we just want to jump right in there, or should we kind of ask your perspective on what you think the dream space is currently, or you just want to hear our, I don't know, where do you want to go with that?
Yeah, fill me in a little bit on like your take onto it. If you don't want to go too deep into it, but I'm sure some stuff will spark my interest and understanding of what there could be. Both of your takes as well. Interesting enough, Ileana, I'm guessing your accent was Australian, correct?
Yeah.
I, li-
Yes.
I lived I lived in Adelaide when I was 21. And
Yeah, cool.
yeah, I moved down to Australia. I ended up meeting a bunch of Aussies when I was in Europe, and I had this like just this major itch to go to Australia and go because get away from winter, to be honest. But everybody I met was from like Brisbane, Cairns, Melbourne, Sydney, Perth, and I was just like, I met one guy from Adelaide, and I was like, "What's Adelaide like?" He's like, "It's a sleepy city." He's like, "It's a million people, but it's sleepy. It's a city of churches." And I was like, "Is there very many Canadians or Westerners there?" And he's like, "No." He's like, "There's never any." I was like, "That's where I'm gonna go." And so I didn't want to go to Sydney. I didn't want to go to Byron Bay. I didn't want to go to Melbourne because it was just going to be another city with a bunch of Westerners and a bunch of city people. And I was like, I want to go somewhere where there's like they see me and they're like, "I'm from Canada," and they're like, "What?" So that's where I wanted to go. It was either there or go to the West Coast, go to Perth and that side. But yeah, it's I loved it. It was a fantastic place. It
Yeah.
reminded me so much of Canada, and yeah, it was. Maybe I'll go back someday.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't live in the city. I live probably halfway between Melbourne and Sydney, so
Mm.
in a little country town. So yeah, I'm not a fan of cities either. Just too much hustle and bustle, and yeah, I love nature. So
Mm.
yeah, but yeah, do you want to go, Sarah? You share your take on what dreams are.
Yeah, well,
We got a similar one, but yeah.
yeah, pretty much. It definitely, I will say that my take on dreams has evolved throughout this podcast. Every time we have a guest on, it's like we learn another piece of the puzzle and can kind of put together this big picture on what we think dreams are. But if we think of ourselves as multidimensional beings, and we're spiritual beings having this physical experience, and if you're on board with multiple timelines, past, present, and future, all kind of overlaid, to me, it really feels sometimes that dreams are an extension of yourself. You are actually accessing other dimensions, possibly other timelines. That's one part of it. A recent episode we had actually with Becky Barron, I think it was episode 26. She spoke about how dreams are actually your heart talking to yourself. Um, so that's another part that resonated with me. Um, Sometimes it can be that it's just your brain processing all the information that you have coming on during the day, but I really feel that that's a small part of it. I do believe that dream messages can come through your dreams, and you can actually set intentions to have information come through your dreams. So if there's some we talk a lot about trauma in relation to dreams as well, that trauma that you need to deal with and, accept, come to terms with, heal from, that can be brought up in dreams, but in a nicer kind of way. And so you're not like reliving that traumatic kind of experience. So a lot of different things, and then there's so many types of dreams. You've got your lucid dreaming, you've got um, possibly prophetic dreams. We had episode 24 was with Trevor Wee, and he talked about how dreams are actually validation. So if you have something going on in your life, a dream can be like kind of validation, like, oh, keep going on your path and those sorts of things. I feel like I'm just going to end up recapping all of our episodes. As I said, we've learned a lot from a lot of different people, and we've just kind of, at least for me personally, I've taken like little bits and pieces and have kind of reshaped what my perspective on dreams are. But when we started this podcast, the whole driving force for me was I actually have something called aphantasia, where if I close my eyes, I can't create images in my mind's eye. But
You
when
say you say cannot?
I
Like you cannot?
cannot, yeah,
Okay,
so
okay.
so I don't have this like beautiful images going on, but I dream, and my dreams are super vivid, and often oftentimes when I wake up, I hardly like, everything seems so real that I thought that I was actually living that experience. And it wasn't until like a couple seconds after I wake up that I realized, oh, I was dreaming. And so it's that curiosity with the fact that I can't create vivid images, but I have really vivid dreams. And I've had a visitation dream once upon a time where my grandfather, who passed away, had actually visited me in a dream, and it kind of sparked something. I'm like, messages can come through dreams. And that was kind of the starting point to this whole podcast.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. If I could, there's definitely a couple points as you were talking about certain things, and I find the thing that you said that you experience yourself, where you don't have this imagery in your mind's eye when you close your eyes or you go to imagine in this state while you're awake, and I ask people that often because I tell people like my imagery of imagination is extremely vivid. Like when people talk about manifestation and imagining and visualization, mine is like it's just super color. It's the same thing as
Beautiful.
watching TV. It's very much active, and it's always been like that all my whole life. And so my imagination of what could be the potential, it's very very much there. So it's very interesting to hear someone that doesn't have that at all. I'm like, well, who would I be without this thing that's very much a part of me? And the other thing that you end up talking about from another episode, I would probably back that up to say, from my interpretation of what it is, that like your heart speaking, and why I would say heart is that I would also say that the heart is somewhat of the subconscious or the unconscious side of yourself. And so that kind of dips into what I believe the dream state is, or from my understanding, the dream state is from my own experience as well as the literature that I've consumed, is like Carl Jung's take on the subconscious. And so going into the subconscious in that state, priming your mind before bed as well as when you first wake up in the morning from that dream state or that sleep state to the awake state, and that transition, that period where your nervous system is coming back online to a different reality. I think it's very important for us to do this now. Do I do that? No, most definitely not. I like my phone is like I'm on like Astrum, I think it's called, and it's like this is talking about the universe. There's this one guy on YouTube that is like he just talks about universe facts for like 15 minutes to 2 hours, depending on the episode, and it's just talking about the sun or Mars or the outer belt, like the Kuiper belt, and like all these different things, and that's what I fall asleep to. Now, but like yeah, going into the subconscious, there's a very interesting thing that I ended up like hearing is that the subconscious expresses itself through the conscious, and then the conscious, through our actions, impresses upon our subconscious. And that would make sense to me. I would think, would be true because of things like trauma, as you mentioned with PTSD. So reliving the trauma within our memory in the present moment, but it's not happening. But yet we feel unsafe, and then our nervous system expresses that through our body. And so our body has this somatic memory that is actually active in this moment because of the memory in our minds. And it's like, and there's this connection of mind-body connection. And now, so revisiting those in our dreams to retell that story, that's what psychedelics do. You go into a narrative that seems like a dream state. You see a tiger in the woods, and all of a sudden it's your grandmother talking to the tree that was actually your deep-rooted trauma from childhood. And it's like, it doesn't make sense literally, but that's the subconscious trying to make sense of whatever it's doing. And so, yeah, I love that you've had guests on talking about certain things like this. And I personally don't dream very much anymore. And it probably hasn't been as active since I had a 3 to 5 year stint with cannabis. And cannabis really took that away. While I was smoking cannabis and using it for therapeutic reasons, for insomnia was one, and stress and back pain. Uh, I went pretty hard in the paint with cannabis for about 3 years, and no dreaming whatsoever. I didn't get to that state of deep sleep, or where you get to your dream states, and REM sleep, I guess, is where it is before and after when you wake up, sort of. And so during that time and since then, my dreams, I'll remember them quickly when I wake up. Most likely, if I remember them, or I had them, or I noticed I had them, I was conscious I had them, they were uh, not pleasurable, not great. And then there's times like I would just remember them, be kind of distraught by them and bothered by them, and then my day would just go on. That would be like the start of my day, and then it would just flow from there. But yeah, there is one story about a dream, but I don't know if I'll share it yet. But maybe we'll see.
Fun. No worries.
Yeah, cool. So I suppose my take, and then like Sarah was saying, we've like learned so much from the people we've been talking to, so it's kind of our understanding's evolving all the time. And I suppose it's trying to articulate what we feel and experience into like an understanding. So for me, I don't think there's a difference between a waking and a dreaming life. I think it's the same. We are always we should be always expressing through our heart, like connecting through our heart. But I feel like when we dream, we go to sleep for 8 hours. It's kind of like rest, but we put ourselves in autopilot. So then we're not really being connected with our heart at that point. And the same with like if you go to work and it's a job you don't really like, you're on autopilot, so you're not connecting with your heart at that time. So I think that's kind of my apart from everything else Sarah said, yeah, that's kind of my what I've come to. So I suppose really trying to connect with your heart as much as possible in every aspect of your life, whether you're awake, working, doing something you love, or you're sleeping. So we always talk about intention, set an intention before you go to sleep. But I also like do that during the day. So then when you do go to sleep, it's just so natural. And when you go to sleep and your dreams are going to be really powerful for you, and you'll be able to connect with them a lot easier. Um, and I think like not dreaming, I think that's all just part of like a cycle, like your ebbs and flows of life. So I've like same with me, there was a time where I just didn't dream for a long time. So, and then it was like a lot of shifting that needed to occur. And then after I met Sarah, and then starting the podcast, all my dreams have been really up and down, like heaps and then nothing, and then heaps and then nothing. So it's a lot of like up and down. So it's definitely part of your journey,
Mm.
healing and getting to remember yourself. So people that don't dream, I don't think it's a bad thing. And even with you, Sarah, like not being able to visualize, I never used to be able to visualize, but I think you can practice, with everything, get better at it, and yeah, open yourself a little bit more each time. So yeah.
There's when I first went to Peru for ayahuasca, I was told a story, a small short story about a plant called angel trumpet. And angel trumpet is grows from like a very slender type tree that grows probably between 6 and 14 feet tall, and these flowers grow off of it, and the flowers like bud out from, like, they come down like a trumpet, like the head of a trumpet, and they're different colors as well. So you can get yellow and pink and red and white, and they're beautiful flowers. They're absolutely beautiful. Everybody loves them, but they're part of the nightshade family, and they're used if ground up. They have a type of psychedelic, not the same as not a DMT molecule, but they have another type of psychedelic psychoactive compound, and they would use it for like a truth serum or to take people over. It's actually like somewhat of a mild date rape. And they used to ground it up and they would blow it in people's faces for mind control. So the person used to be under a spell when they'd inhale this, and then they'd be under this like lucid kind of control. The story that I was told is that if you take one off and put it underneath your pillow and then go to sleep, it activates your dreams. And boy, did it ever. I took it off. I took one off that was kind of wilting and put it underneath my pillow. And it was a night after drinking ayahuasca, the second night. And maybe it was ayahuasca, maybe it was the belief in this here, in this angel trumpet, or maybe it was the angel trumpet itself. Who knows? And the dream that I ended up having, I was fresh out of a separation and a divorce and having a hard time connecting with women. And in the dream, I connected with a woman. And the woman that I connected with, I can't remember her name, but she's a famous actor. She's a black woman with short hair. She was in Sin City. And so this woman, gorgeous woman. And anyway, I connected with her, and she was like leading me into all these different places and rooms and everything. And it was like the old days of when I used to have a lot of good fun and being like going to certain bars or parties or something like that, where it was just everybody was having a good time. And so that's the feeling I was having in that dream. And I'll share vulnerably, openly. I ended up having a wet dream that night, since dreams are dreams. And that was the first time that I've had one of those in like years. And I was like, interesting. And so I'm in Peru. I'm drinking ayahuasca. I'm sleeping with a flower, and I'm having these dreams. And I was like, this is something else. Like, this is like really allowing myself to experience the full thing. And like I did so much plant medicine over that 10-day period, like different plant medicines. I think I did like 5 different plant medicines there, and it was intense. It was an intensive retreat, that one. But yeah, it's dreams are super interesting. Like they're trying to tell us something in some form and in some way, and it's interesting to like break them down, but not to get too caught up into them, and especially try not to make sense. That's what I try to tell people who are like, oh, but I have this in my dream and that in my dream. And I'm like, well, if you have to really reach for it, if you have to really construct something or make something up from it, if it doesn't like pop out at you like, oh wow, this thing happened and means this to me, then try not to make up the story around it just to make it relevant, and just let it be. That it's just another part, right? We don't need to know why the sky is blue all the time.
No, I like that. But it comes to something that we definitely talk a lot about on the podcast, is that dreams are definitely very personal. And when it comes to interpreting or trying to decode your dreams, it's actually another driving force why I started the podcast. I've always been fascinated by dreams, always like, dreamt something, tornado, or, I don't know, whatever it is. And you run to a dream interpretation book and you're like, oh, what does this mean? What does this mean? And just, it never really clicked. Like it never really resonated with me. And throughout this podcast, we definitely have learned that because it's you talking to yourself through your dreams, your heart, your subconscious, whatever you want to call it, then the language of your dreams or the symbolism in your dreams are really only things that only you can decode. But one of the most powerful and simplest things that's really helped me in interpreting dreams recently has been from our episode with Trevor Wee, where he talked about where we would talk about a symbol in a dream, and he would just say, well, what does that symbol mean to you?
Hmm.
And it's so simple, but yeah, it was so powerful. And now every time I wake up and there's something like, oh, well, what does that mean to me? And it's been very helpful. Um, Man, we've covered a lot of ground already, and I'm trying to take notes so we can come back to those little bits and pieces. Um, I'm gonna circle back. I know you've covered a lot of ground already, but to cannabis. I was a user as well for quite a number of years, heavy user, and it was actually this podcast that got me to stop smoking cannabis because I just became so fascinated with my dreams, and I wasn't dreaming when I was smoking. So I kicked it so that I could dream more. um, but your dreams haven't come back since quitting?
They have, but not to the extent of what I remember they were before that.
Mm,
And I I'm not really sure why. Like I wouldn't be able to tell you or have a firm answer to like point at something that tells me why they haven't returned to the vividness or to the extent like where I get into a dream and it's I've had stints before cannabis where it's been lucid. Like I've actually gotten to places where it's lucid and I'm like I can start to control the dream or I feel like I can control the dream somewhat. And that hasn't happened since smoking cannabis. So it's very like snapshot quick. It's almost like looking at one of those old films where it's like and it just like flicks through and all of a sudden I'm awake. And it's just like snap, 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 snap of like 10 or less snaps. And then I'm awake and I'm like, what was that? Like like ugh, and I'm just like kind of distraught or like taken back or just want to like shake it off and just go get up and go about my day. Uh, or I wake up no, typically in like a hot sweat because and it's always on my back, which is weird because I sleep on my stomach. I'm a stomach sleeper.
oh,
So I wake up on my back and I'm like almost like trapped by the sheets or like I can't roll over to like uh, like kind of get the heat out of me. And I can roll around so my heat can come off. So I get like stuck in like a hot spot or something, and then so I wake up sweaty, and I'm like, oh, another bad dream, and I'm more concerned about getting up and like changing the sheets or drying myself off or something like that, other than processing that dream, right?
right.
So I want to get back to bed, and so it kind of pulls away from it in a sense in that way, but yeah, it's really interesting that they haven't come back since then. Who knows? I could go to sleep tonight and I could be like have the best sleep and dream of my life, but um, it's not something I overly worry about. But I like curious to why, and I sometimes think maybe it's because of the psychedelic work. Maybe it's because of the self-awareness and not so much subconscious activity that's happening these days. And even though I still feel like the same person, I have a lot of people that talk to me, and when we talk about certain depths of psychology or neuroscience and things, I get quite a few compliments. I'm not tooting my own horn here, but I get quite a few compliments of people saying, like, Justin, like you really have dove into this work. Like you're deep into this work. You have an understanding beyond like some of the most people I know, and I like that. And because I've had to do my own, it's a messy spot in here. So I've had to go into my own messy darkness and figure out what those things are, and that's why I know it's through lived experience. And I've been in some pretty dark spots. Um, but yeah, for dream wise, like if it is a expression of the subconscious mind or that the heart, and then I definitely have some heaviness and some darkness still in there to unravel, and maybe that's a gateway. But psychedelics has always been the gateway for me for going into that space anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, there's I've only experimented with mushrooms and nothing more than that, and I have never got to a point where I'm like on another planet while doing so. But I always wondered about if you're accessing other dimensions when you take psychedelics or whatnot. And from a basic perspective, um, So my background is I have a PhD in chemistry, and so I'm often thinking about the molecules that operate our everyday life, and especially the body. It's a big, mean chemical machine.
Hmm.
And so, just for example, you spoke about DMT and even psilocybin, the main component in psychedelics. The core structure of those are very, very similar. And they're
Hmm.
also very similar to serotonin
Yes.
and also melatonin, which is actually your sleep molecule. And so I feel that these molecules are activating. I actually don't know the full chemistry and science of where they are, but just from a basic, if you were to look up the structure of these molecules and notice there are only a couple atoms difference between them. So
Yeah.
to me, it's quite obvious that they're operating on similar receptors or the same type of receptors in your brain. I also question whether or not we also produce DMT ourselves.
Hmm.
And when you get into a very deep meditative state, I wonder if we're actually producing DMT ourselves. Where was I going with all of this? Dimensions. I just was bringing it to dimensions. I do believe that we access other dimensions when we sleep, and my reasoning for that when we dream. And my reasoning for that is if we think about the idea of consciousness, as in like the collective conscious, everything that's beyond the 3D reality, the metaphysical, as you brought up earlier. Well, it feels like we're living in another experience when you're dreaming. So to me, it's another experience that the consciousness is living. And so to access that, you have to go to a higher dimension because it's not here in this 3D world that we're in currently. Um, yeah, so there's that. I do also want to talk about intention, but I don't know if you want it. I want to give you a chance to comment on anything that I just spoke about.
No, you spoke about psychedelics very eloquently, and obviously, yeah, with that PhD in chemistry, you have that background. So yeah, the different analogs of DMT, dimethyltryptamine, and looking at them as if anybody knows the hexagon and pentagons that they all stick together with the carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen, and all the different elements that come together to make up these molecules. The connectors. All you change is like a nitrogen on the end of these connectors and make it like a Y or just a single. And so you have 4-NN-DMT, which is ayahuasca. And then you have 5-MeO DMT, which is in bufo or in a psychedelic toad. And then you have mimosa plant and a few other plants that also have these molecules and derivatives of or different analogs of dimethyltryptamine DMT. And so with they give a little bit of a different one. So 4-NN psychedelic of ayahuasca gives more visuals. So there's like a heightened visual state. The 5-MeO, which I work with and I offer people in ceremony, it's a short duration because you inhale it, you don't ingest it. So you're inhaling it and you're going through your lungs in this way to your bloodstream. And so that goes to your brain. I'm assuming through what I understand, this is how it goes. When you ingest the ayahuasca, the brew, then you're ingesting and it goes into your serotonin receptors in the gut and it goes to your body through that way. And so with the 5-MeO, it gives you more of a like fully out of body, disembodied experience. And you're very much in another realm, they say. Um, it's profound. It's called the God molecule as a nickname. And I haven't done anything that has been this incredibly amazing. That gets you to a different place. And that shift in perspective after doing these trips, after doing these psychedelic experiences, they're life changing. They're very much life changing. And so, like having a traumatic event or a big event in somebody's life that changes their perspective, it needs integration. And I'm sure some of these dreams that people have, or heavy dreams, or very vivid dreams, needs integration, and space needs to be held. But who knows? Who's an expert on dreams, right? And these other alternate realities. I think the mind, when we think about dimensions and alternate realities, the mind is so complex that it can construct the most lavish things that we could ever imagine. And it comes out of nowhere. And we see this with music and poetry and art and movies and cinema and film and creation. And like it's incredible what comes out of these brains that we have and out of these minds. Where does that all come from? I think we try to make up a story or an understanding to try to communicate about it. I honestly think, like my personal beliefs is that none of us know. All the way from talking about other dimensions and fairies and green goblins and in the psychedelic space, all the way to like just going right into God and all, like even into like Greek mythology with the many gods, or just singular God like Christianity or Abrahamic religions. I honestly think we don't know. I think this all story of how to try to figure out what we're doing on this planet. I have no idea. So since that has been my belief, and I've kind of like been dreaming that up, you could say, through all the information that I have, plus through my own experience to discern the information that I receive. I believe that's a reason why I don't dream as much. And it's also why I don't journey as much with psychedelics anymore. Is because I'm very much grounded in this experience of the human experience in this three-dimensional world. And this is what I'm here for. If there is another place, I'll figure it out when I die, and I'll let that be that. And so I come here to live this dream in this reality, in this incarnation, and in this body. And so I've been trying to figure out how to like that more and more every day that I'm here. And so when I wake up, that's the gift. And the dream is like here. It's just like my eyes are open and I'm dreaming. And then it's not always that prevalent, or I say it and it sounds easy, but it's not simple to think and live in that state. But it's something that I try to remind myself of daily, is that I'm living the dream. Like this is it. Like who knows what else is out there? When I die, I die. And when I go to if I go to sleep and don't wake up, and then so be it. I won't know anyway. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing to dive into these things. But psychedelics are a major gateway into a perspective shift and a lifestyle shift. And it's like, yeah, to also touch on your natural DMT inside the body. So some people say the pineal gland, the gland that's right inside of the brain, right in the middle, where the spinal cord kind of connects and it sits right above. They say that this is what secretes the dimethyltryptamine in small amounts, so DMT in high states. And yogis and great meditators and stuff like that can access this, and they can release this and have this like euphoric bliss states. And I would probably believe it in some way, but I don't know if we've proved it yet scientifically to show that it's there. I've done heavy breathwork sessions, like types of deep yogic breathworks, and I got to the same state as I did with light doses of DMT, and I've totally blasted off with them. And I was just like, this is interesting, as just through breathing techniques. And so that hyperventilation of increasing the carbon dioxide within the bloodstream is what's happening in that state when you're doing the heavy breathing. Because oxygen always stays at the same level. It doesn't modulate unless you're in altitude. And so if you go up in Everest, you get less oxygen because there's less oxygen in the air, but carbon dioxide fluctuates inside the bloodstream. So you can increase or decrease carbon dioxide. And so with the breath work, you can increase your CO2 levels inside your body. And by doing that, it's like acetosis. I don't quote me on this, you'd have to look it up. But it's like, yeah, carbon dioxide blood acetosis or something like that. So you're making your blood either alkaline or acidic, either one or the other. I can't remember which one it is.
Well, if
And
it's
that's what,
CO2, it's probably acidic, if I had to
yeah.
guess.
So this is what you're doing to yourself essentially in this like alters, and it gives you an altered state. And so is that DMT from your pineal gland? I don't know. But does it give you an altered state? Yes, 100%. So argue if it is or not, it still gives you that state where you can have a euphoric experience and change in perspective, and all of a sudden the brain tries to construct what was that, That's an alternate reality. That's another universe. That's like I went to see the Syrians or the blue people or gray people. I don't know, but I think it's yeah, it's an interesting thing. We're trying to make sense of it all. So whether it's in a book telling you what your yellow dress in the dream was, or if we're just trying to, I love that question that the person ended up saying to you. Is like, what does that mean to you? And that's what I say with at the end of a psychedelic journey for people, and they say, "Oh, I seen that. What does it mean?" And I'm like, "What does it mean to you?" It's not. It means nothing to me. I wasn't there, right? It's this is yours, right?
Yeah, I love that. And I suppose I haven't had any experiences with any psychedelics or anything like that, so I can't really speak on that. But like when you were saying about not having dreams, or you try not to interpret your dreams because you want to live in basically the 3D, you want to live in the now. And I was actually going to mention that. Is it because the lack of dreams is because you're trying to focus on the not the mental side, but you're really wanting to focus on what you're doing in your waking life? And is that also because you're connecting with your heart at that time? So you don't need to access that extra information while you're sleeping, while you're dreaming, because you're already connecting with yourself at that time, and you don't need any extra information coming through. So I like how you said that. That was cool. So I purposely sometimes, just go, you know what? I'm not interested in my dreams at the moment. I want to focus on what I'm doing in the moment, because it's a lot of action based, everything. You gotta have your intention, but also you gotta do it in your life. So that's yeah, I love that. So we don't talk about that enough. That we need to integrate everything, we dream, we feel, and then we're gonna do. So yeah,
Yeah, I totally agree. Thank you. Yeah,
yeah.
it's it's something special. And that's why I'm going back in. It's interesting because so I deep dive into everything I do. So I'm a hard sun sign Gemini, if that defines me. I'm also a manifestor generator in human design, and I'm a 3/5, so I'm a trial and error and a heretic, if you know any human design stuff. And so I'm also a moon sign Cancer, so my heart is very much blown open with feelings in the water sign
Yeah.
side, in my other realm, my maybe my dream side, like my moon, right? And yeah, so with those things, they kind of do give me a an outline of like who I am, and as I look back on my life and in the rearview mirror, and I have that like big heart on my sleeve, Newfie, and it's very much there. Like it's I'm true and true. Like I will show you everything. I'll give you a shirt off my back type thing, and I try to give everything away. Even what I'm constructing right now for a new style pay system, because I've been so turned off or cringed by the current state of how we make money that want to adopt it or acquiesce into how we make money and do sales and marketing, but at the same time my body and my spirit fights it. And it's just so I'm trying to figure out a way to do this that makes more sense. So I just came up with a new idea that I'm going to try to pursue. But what I was talking about the deep dives is that when I find something, I want to jump into it full head on, and I don't like dip my toe and go, oh, that might be okay, and maybe I'll dabble over here. It's like I just jump in. This is great. Rummage around and be like, I got found what I needed, and I just go to the next pile, right? So I just go boom, 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 and this is what I do. This is the personality I have. And so psychedelics was one of those, but spirituality, I would say spirituality, I went head on for 3 years of like just deep diving into like what's all the teachings, what's all the stuff, where's all the things, and then processing, integrating, diving in, action, all these things. So as I go through all of it, the finding that I'm feeling like I'm coming out the other side of all of that is that the true teachings, the core teachings, one of the ones is non-attachment, living with non-attachment in Buddhism. And so Since that is something of a core belief that I hold, is this non-attachment, it includes spirituality, it includes God, it includes atheism, it includes nihilism, it includes existentialism, and I can't find myself attached to any of them, because attaching to any of them creates a suffering in my life, because it's a dependency on this thing that isn't solid. It's always impermanent. And so as I come around to that, I go, okay, so now I'm back at the starting line again of the present moment. And
Yeah.
so I say to myself, what am I want to do? What do I want to dream? If I could dream any dream, what would I dream? And this is where I'm at, is every day waking up to that dream. And so I don't always remind myself of that. It comes off my tongue so easily, but but it's I'm in this place where I'm trying to recognize it as best I can, to be present with this, and then to use this head as a tool to lead the what really wants to come out from this incarnation, from this body, from this organism on this planet, whatever we want to call it. And as I kind of go down there, I find myself dipping back into corporate space. And I'm like, this is not what I thought I was going to do. And you mentioned you don't like cities either. I went to Brazil last year. I took men after a men's coaching program, because I was strictly a men's coach when I first started coaching. So I took men into the jungle, into Brazil, deep in the jungle with the Yawanawa tribe. And when we came out, integration, they say, when you come out of medicine and psychedelics, don't go to the city. So we spent a few extra days integrating kind of in the town and stuff like that, smaller towns. And then we ended up going, and I was like, I'm in Brazil. I have to go to Rio. I have to go to Rio de Janeiro. I have to go see it. So we went back into Sao Paulo, and then from Sao Paulo, we took the bus to Rio and got up to Rio, and I spent 5 days in Rio. And it's the first time I've been in a city in years, probably since my early 20s, that I didn't want to leave. It was the first city I've been in that I felt alive, vibrant, just absolutely ready to go. Every night, not wanting to go to bed till 2, wanting to be up at 6. And it was just like, I love this city. And it was like, I never thought that Rio de Janeiro would be the city that I was like, I love this place and I didn't want to leave. And I almost left Brazil. We went a couple other places after that, but I left Brazil heartbroken. It was like I went on that vacation tour where you meet somebody and you meet the person that you like fall in love with, but then you know you have to return home. And Brazil, the country of Brazil, was that for me. And I came home and I just like pouted around for like a month and just be like, yeah, I had to leave my girlfriend, my vacation girlfriend. And I was like so depressed for like a month. I was like, I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave that country. And I fell in love with it. It took my heart. Um, but yeah, it felt like a dream being there, I have to say. Like there was so many pinch me points at that place. Like being in the jungle, being in those places, meeting the people we met, being on islands along the coast, being in Rio, Sao Paulo. Yeah, it was a beautiful experience, yeah, just to be in these places. But
Yeah, wow. That's quite interesting. I'm hearing a lot lately from just different people that they've done, I suppose, all their healing, um, gone on the healing journey, and then they've gone back to a city and they've actually had a great experience. So I think it's just when we've been like in a state where we just need to get away from the busyness, the everything just mental, the
mhm,
mental side, and yeah, get out, whether it's in nature or just go away from where you grew up. Yeah, so I haven't had that experience yet because I haven't, I suppose, felt drawn to go to a city. I love, being around nature as much as possible. But yeah, I'm seeing it more and more in the last couple of months. A lot of people, going back to a city and enjoying themselves, and I think that's all part of integrating what we've learned, all our healing and stuff, to be able to go into any situation, any environment, and still have a great time.
mhm,
So I'm glad you had a great experience. So that's really cool. I've always wanted to go to Brazil. So
mhm.
yeah,
It's a beautiful country. Like
yeah,
I can't rave about it enough. Yeah, like people talk about like the unsafeness or things like that, and I would say there's places that are unsafe, like especially I know there's a difference between a man traveling and a woman traveling, and I understand that, and I'm very aware of that. However, there's a lot of places that isn't that unsafe place. Like if you go to Rio and you go towards the favelas or down these like certain neighborhoods, yes, it's going to be like there's 7 million people in that city. There's 13 million people in Sao Paulo. Like they're massive cities, and so like you go to certain places and you can see the poverty, you can see the homeless, you can see the trouble that's there, and stuff happens. I'm not oblivious to that or ignorant of it, but it's coming full circle. I think with the spiritual kind of thing is like it cleared my head almost and came around and became a better version of myself quite quickly, and now I'm at a place where I feel like I'm come full circle. Like I want to live in like a 2 bedroom high-rise condo building and in a city. And it's like, who am I? Like these like interests, these desires just come out of me. And I'm just like, I don't even know who you are anymore. And I'm just like, cool. Like if this is what you want to do, like I honestly want to wear like a suit. Like I want to wear a suit like 4 days a week and like wear shoes and go on the subway and go to a place. And like who knows that maybe that'll only be a year. Maybe I'll do that for like a year and be like, okay, no, I don't want to do this. But it is a full circle. Like it is come back around to someone that I was before. And the desires are the same. The person I am is different and quite different in my mentality or my perception on things. And it's a very interesting thing, but there's a personal vow that I took. I didn't take it through a temple through Buddhism, but it's the path of the Bodhisattva. And the path of the Bodhisattva is someone that can attain enlightenment but chooses not to come back and help the other people to reduce suffering. And I came across this. I was feeling exactly that, and I couldn't put it into words, but I was like, of service. So I need to be of service in some way, shape, or form. And so plant medicine I was starting that, and then finally I came across this understanding of the Bodhisattva, of a Buddha, and I was like, oh, that hits home so easily for me. Like it's an expression of exactly where I wanted to do. And I was like, I don't know what that fully means for me at this point. I was like, but this is the path that I'm on, is to come back and to try to relieve suffering from people. And that's all I've been doing since, is doing my services and offering them out. And that's a part of this new kind of pay way that I'm trying to figure out, is to be of service for free, essentially, for people, but getting funded in a different indirect way. And so instead of direct transaction, it's going to be an indirect transaction that it gets paid in a different form. And so I'm trying to figure out how to work that right now. And I think there's lots of models out there that are similar to that. But I guess, excuse me, I'm not going to have an OnlyFans page, but it's gonna be like OnlyFans for coach, sort of. But I'm not gonna be on camera. I'm just gonna be offering services, but like that sort of pay model, right? Like Patreon
Yeah.
account. And so I'm offering a service and having clients and people and things. But the thing that I want to do is to be able to share that kind of like that socialism model, but without being socialist. But like there's people with abundance that we can all help other people that can't have that abundance, but they can have it in a different form. So I have a list of people that can't have my services because they just literally can't afford anything. And they're not in a place to give away $10. And so I've tried to give away my services before for free and take people on and pro bono and free or whatever. And it just doesn't work. It burns me out, or they don't commit, or all these different things. And there's many different reasons why it doesn't work. But I really hit a wall many times, like trying to give stuff away for free. I was like, I'll just give it to you. Like let's go. Let's do coaching sessions every week, and we'll go and we'll start doing this. But yeah, it's never really worked out that way. It's been when people pay, they find value, and so trying to figure out how to work that so the psychology comes out of it from that. But yeah, it's full circle. I think all of it, like that's
Yes.
really where we come, full circle.
Yeah, it's definitely about value. But I just want to put one thing, and then Sarah, you can chat. You were talking about the full circle, like Dale Holmes, another Aussie, great man. He talks about the hero's journey, and so going on that journey, so leaving home, going through all those experiences, but you're coming back to
Mm.
yourself a changed person. So check him out. He's pretty cool. He's on all the socials. So
Who's this?
yeah, he's Dale Holmes.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, he's pretty cool. He just him in his van sometimes. He's no shirt on, just like chatting about things that he's experiencing and figuring out. And but yeah, just the way he talks about the hero's journey is just resonates with me. So you might enjoy it as well. So, but
Mm.
yeah, Sarah, you go for it.
Oh, I was just gonna put another plug in for Dale Holmes. You can check out the Sky to Earth podcast that he does. And he's been on several different interviews. Maybe we need him on our show.
Yeah,
um, where do I want to go? So many things, so many things. And I'm mindful of your time. I don't know how much time you have this evening, but
I no, I got lots of time. So whatever you guys have, yeah.
okay, cool. Well, just because we're coming up on the hour. I mean, our episodes have been an hour, they've been 2 hours, they've been 3 hours. It really just depends on where the conversation is. Um, the one thing I wanted to mention, and this is not exactly about dreams, but it is related to what you're talking about or what you're trying to establish with this basically another form of currency. And it's, I mean, obviously, we live in a capitalist society, and unfortunately, you need money to, pay your bills, have the lights on, these
Mm.
sorts of things at the moment. But I personally feel that we are going to be shifting to something that is not that in hopefully the not too distant future. So the fact that you're trying to lay some groundwork for that for some very important services is really awesome. And I'm just going to throw out the word or the phrase, and maybe that's something that can help you a little bit. And when you're thinking about it, is an energy exchange. Everything is energy in the universe. This conversation we're having right now is a form of energy. You're giving your time, your energy to be here for us to have this discussion. And so sometimes money is that form of energy, and because it's our current system, it's all you can do. But I know that there are some people that kind of trade services, so it's like, or like kind of like that barter system, but when it comes to services. So it's like, I'll give my time, my energy to teach you this thing, and then you teach, and then you exchange, that kind of teaching. So I don't know if that's helpful for where you're going or whatnot, but it's something that came through to me when you were talking.
Yeah, and I've done pretty much all of those, multiple different ways, and so that's what I love about it is that I can take from those experiences and now continue to mold this new thing that I'm kind of putting together. And I don't know if this is going to be the finished product either. This is just another method that I'm potentially going to try. But where I started with coming back, because I didn't know, I wanted more experience than to get paid, and so the experience was more important to me at the beginning when I was working with medicine, and so with that, and also breath work. I was trained in pranayama breath work, the more traditional yoga style breath work, and offering those, I was offering for what I call the Dana model or the Dena model. And this model comes from Vipassana. And so when you go to Vipassana, you pay it forward. So when you go there, you pay for the next person behind you, whatever you can donate. And this Dana model is it's almost like the panhandlers of the Buddhist tradition. So the people that you would see on the street with the pans or asking for money, the beggars, and because there's enough abundance, like we see it, right? We see it in the stock market, we see it in the money exchange, we see it in the elites, we see it in our neighbors, we see it in the neighborhoods in our towns. People have way more than enough. So we can donate more in a more effective way in that I believe that is not taxes. Because that's the four we tried. That's the method that we tried is this taxes or paying into EI or CPP or whatever it is, and depending on the country you're in. And these forms are good in theory, but obviously we've really done something wrong with them along the way. But there's definitely good forms like you're talking about in ways that energy exchange. And so one of the ones that I really loved, I was a part of an energy exchange that like I utilized and I thought the value was fantastic, was Shanti Yoga in Halifax. And there I cleaned for a week's worth of yoga. So one shift of cleaning gave me a week's worth of yoga. And I could go to any class for a week, and that would pretty much be my membership. But it had to be cleaning that week, get the week. And so it wasn't like I could bank it or whatever, or do 4 shifts and get 4 weeks type thing. It's like whatever you clean once or all week, and you get one that week. And so I thought that was keen. I thought that was awesome. So I used to clean twice a week, and when I cleaned, I also went to the yoga classes. So it was perfect, and I didn't have to pay for it. I thought that was perfect for me. And I've also traded services where I've gotten other modalities and things in return. However, the medicine that I work with, the psychedelic medicine and Cambo, particularly, is quite a high cost. And so that value of that is a lot higher than most modalities, like a tarot reading or a Reiki session or something. It's like 3, 4, 5, 10 times what those cost in value. So after the first few, I was like, I need to charge, I need to pay my bills, as we all do. We live in that reality. But yeah, even the Dana model was great. I did a weekend full of medicine one time, and what I actually charge now for Cambo, and it was a full weekend of Cambo. I think I was only off by like $60 in the difference from just donations that first full weekend I did versus another full weekend I did where it was a set price. I was like $60 different with the same amount of people. And I was like, okay, so it works, right? Like it proved that's the experience I got out of it, that a different energy exchange or donation or sliding scale works. Like people will pay you your value. There's some people that want to give you more money. There's some people that just can't pay enough. And there's everything in between. So it kind of balances itself out. The scales balance out. But yeah, I believe in the I don't know a better way to take this because it's kind of, or say a state is kind of new, but to take from the rich and give to the poor. And that's ultimately what this thing is going to be. It's going to be like this donation kind of thing where people have more and they can give some of that more and other people can avail of these services because I have a huge list of people that want and desire these services, but they don't, the thing that's the barrier is the price. And so what will not burn me out and be able to share this abundance is that I'm literally just going to be a middleman. And so just taking here and giving here, taking here and giving here. And so I'm just like the transactional kind of person. And in the middle of that, I take care of myself a little bit. So then I'm taken care of and I get my basic needs met. And realistically, that's all I need. And you talk about this gentleman here that you reference, and he lives in a van. It's like every good hippie lives in a van, don't they? I have a converted school bus, a mini school bus that I converted that me and my dog live out of, or like pretty much on and off, like the last 3 years, and spent a bit of time here at my parents' cottage this winter, which was rough. It's not a winter cottage. And then the year before, I spent 4 or 5 months in Rishabuktu, New Brunswick, and then the winter before that, I spent 4 months in Spryfield, outside of Halifax. And so I've spent 4, 5, that's 9 here, 14. So 14 months out of 3 years I've spent indoors, and all the rest of the time has been in the bus. So I've been pretty much practically living in the converted school bus, which isn't super conducive, but it works because I've built it all myself with a diesel heater and it stays warm and my dog likes it and yeah, it works. It works good, but
Yeah, awesome.
all good hippies.
That's awesome. What kind of dog do you have?
An English bulldog.
Oh,
Oh, wait until I tell my fiance. He's gonna be so jealous. He really wants an English bull because he thinks they're so cute with their like wrinkly faces. Uh,
They're the best. Yeah, he's my
yeah.
second one. They're fantastic. The temperaments and everything. He's fantastic. He's really good. He can hike 10 kilometers with me, no problem. He's not this like roly poly fat guy on the couch. He wants to go. He's almost 7 now. He's like six
Oh,
and a half. Yeah, he's hasn't changed. He's like same as he was when he was 1.
you'll have to send me a picture later.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we're gonna try to bring it back to dreams a little bit, although I really appreciate you sharing all the things that you're involved with and this idea of you know, giving, taking from the rich and giving to the poor, as you kind of say, I think is a really great thing to be doing because there's, as you say, there's so much abundance on this planet. Although we're kind of very much, lopsided, I would say, to throw out a Newfoundland term. um, there's no reason why the services that people need, and obviously doing coaching and those sorts of things, these are like basic things that a human should have access to because we're all here to learn and to grow and to be the best version of ourselves. So why should one person have more access to that than another person? So I think it's really commendable that you're trying to find a way to be able to bring that forward and as you said, be a service, because that's really, to bring out a Japanese term, it's something called an ikigai. Not like
Yeah.
an ikigai, but
Hmm.
when it's just, when you're doing something that you love, that you enjoy, that you're good at, but you're also offering a service to the world. And
Hmm.
then you're kind of living the dream, as you talk about. And that's where I'm going to tie it back in here. When you talk about, that you're not necessarily dreaming as much because of your awareness and where you are on a human level, that when you wake up, you're like just thankful to be here and living this human experience and this physical reality. You are living the dream. It really makes me think. Billiana and I talk about intention a lot. And I think that what you're describing when you're talking about living a dream is actually kind of a different form of intention. And we talk about having intention through your waking life, but then that also translates into your sleep life. And again, for us, our perspective is that there is no difference between your waking life and your sleep life. You are the same person. You're having the same experiences. But I think with you being living the dream, as you put it, and I think Biljana kind of touched on this a little bit earlier about just being really connected to your heart. You are living your soul's purpose by giving that service to the world as you're trying to do. You very much are on your path,
Hmm.
and so you're probably not dreaming as much because you already have that open connection with your heart and you're all ready to just, you're already doing what you need to do. Whereas if there's still things that you need to work on, or, you're still developing on a soul level, then I'm not saying that you've completed your soul development because you're still here. If you
Oh
were
yeah.
done,
Yeah.
you
Oh
wouldn't be
yeah.
here.
Yeah.
But you're connected in such a way that perhaps that's why you're not dreaming. But if you wanted to, you can set your intention to be able to have those dreams. And I'm going to bring it back to multidimensional beings as well. Yes, we are in this physical experience. And if you believe in souls and all this, I feel like you kind of have with everything you've shared. The body needs to rest for 8 hours, but as multidimensional beings, we don't need to. Consciously, we don't actually need to rest. It's just our physical incarnate that needs to. And so I do believe that we access other dimensions. We are actually doing other spiritual soul work when we go to sleep and have dreams as well. That's just another
Hmm.
angle. I know I jumped all over the place there, but had a lot in my mind that I wanted to tie some ends together.
Yeah, no, there's a and possibly like that it's a possibility that like I have this connection and I think it could be true. Like I think that's could be the possibility that I have this connection where I'm trying to lead through my heart or my soul's purpose. And it's funny you bring up Ikigai. Ikigai is something that I work with my clients with through that process. I have a whole like way to do it, like outer circle, inner circle, getting to your Ikigai, whole method. So yeah, so that's something to find your purpose, your true purpose in life. And yeah, opus is that. that's the model. And so when I brought people in to that wanted to do like look for their purpose, because that was like a really trendy thing in I guess the last year and a half, year ago or so. And so everybody was like, "Oh, I need to know my purpose." So of course I dove into that a couple of years ago, and I was like, "Okay, so what's this whole purpose thing about?" And then, so everybody then behind me was just like, "I want to find my purpose. Do you have a way to help me find my purpose?" And I was like, "Yes, I do." And so then I'd educate them on like what that actually meant, and then take them through the Ikigai model. Um, and so when I first found out about Ikigai, I already had Opus done this way. And then I was like, oh, this is a cool model. Let's test my Opus, my work, against this. And so I put it into the model, and I was like, I was already doing it. So I was like, yeah, perfect. So yeah, I put that out there and then did it and did the deep dive. And then kind of looking at that soul's purpose, yeah, my God, I still have a lot of work to do. And every day I recognize it. Like I just went through a massive heartbreak 2 months ago. And for the first month, I was like in Peru, torn apart. And I was drinking ayahuasca and then being in like places and other places in the country and stuff, and isolated somewhat by myself, even in a big city of Lima. I didn't really talk to many people, and I felt isolated in that city, even though I liked it. I liked being there. It was the first time exploring the city itself. And but I was like, yeah, I was really grueling with the heartbreak and learning lessons, learning about attachments, learning about expectations, learning about belief, the power of belief, and believing somebody that they were saying that they're going to be with me and love me, and then days later broke up with me. And I was just like, oh, okay. I was like, yeah, all these feelings, all these range of emotions of being human. So there's lots more to learn through all of this, and that's why the one of the terms in spirituality, like healing or healing journey or healers and things like that, is that I'm not very fond of that, and because I don't think we're broken. I think this is actually this is the intention of to use that word. The intention of this journey is to be here. So there's nothing to heal from, but it's an experience to experience. And so through that experience, there's like when I is semantics. It's a bit of semantics on my part, but it's when I think about the word healing or healer or healing journey, it doesn't resonate with me. It's not there for me. And so what am I doing? I'm experiencing. I'm taking the curriculum of being a human, to quote Ram Dass, and it's a beautiful thing. Like it really is. Even all the heartbreak and the terrible feelings that I've had, and jealousy and hatred and anger and grief and all the frustration that comes with it, and it was like it was still great. I was like, I'm glad I lived that, and I'm probably going to live it again because I have a big heart, and I'm waiting for someone to align with that thing, and but I have to align with it. So it's like that self-love type of piece. But there was something else you said about the dreams too. I wanted to talk about. Darn,
It'll
it
come
leaves me.
back.
Yeah, if it's important, it will. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I love this conversation. I don't have anything on my mind at all, but yeah, Sarah, is there anything else that you want
Well, now I'm
to
really
touch
curious
on?
what Justin had, like,
Yeah.
he missed the wave. It'll come back around, hopefully.
If you
Um,
had notes or what you covered, just kind of like give me the quick jot note form.
what I covered, oh my goodness, I covered so much. I was talking about intention. Um, yeah, what did I say, Billiana? You're the good listener over there.
We're talking about like the just multi dimensions, like of your dreams.
Mm.
No, it's gone too.
Yeah, living the
That's right.
life.
I live in the moment. I try not to remember every little bit. Just go with it. That's all right.
Yeah, that the multi-dimensional one thing is interesting. There's there's a well-known part of, I guess, spirituality, but in the psychedelic world, it's peak experiences. So psychedelics, you can really blow off, and you're gone, right, with psychedelics, and so people get hooked on the peak experience, the same as any dopamine rush, any drugs, anything like that. We get hooked on that peak experience, like we're trying to attain something more. It's this lack here, and I want to get there. And so it's always wanting to go back to that place, and you find familiarity in this like escapism. And so when I think about like going off or blasting off into these other places, whether it's meditation or breath work or psychedelics or anything else, it makes me wonder what's not suffice here. What's not here in somebody's life that makes them want to engage with this, right? Is there a lot of pain and suffering? Is there an escapism? Is there a spiritual bypassing of some sort to seek this peak experience? And so for myself, I come back around, like again, like I said, full circle, to see that those places of multi-dimensional or metaverse or uh, different like 5D, 9D, all these other spots, like it hasn't been my reality. It has at times, and it's been there with psychedelics. I had a transcendental experience. I'll touch on that, but um, I had a like thinking about these other realms is that I've touched some of these other realms, and they've been really cool on psychedelics and in breathwork, and it's been really interesting. But the message that I keep getting every time I'm there, just like that question, what does that mean to you? I would get a huge knowing to say, this is where you do your work, is here. It's right here. It's in this three-dimensional world. All that, let all that other stuff go. You'll get there. If that's meant to be, you'll go there, right? Just like my own awakening, I had a rupture of an awakening from a very sleepy state. I didn't ask for that. I wasn't seeking that. It just happened. It was a happening that happened upon me. And so now I'll transition into that kind of moment that I had. And so I was using cannabis, and this did help facilitate, I'm pretty sure. I didn't really consider it at the time, but over time analyzing it, I think it did. It was edibles, because so you get a bit of a psychoactive with edibles more so than inhalation and smoking. And so it was 5 in the morning. I just woke up. I think like 4:30. I wasn't sleeping all that well. It was summer's coming on. It was height of COVID, and I was in Calgary. I was living in Calgary at the time with my ex-wife. And while I was there, yeah, I woke up early in the morning, and I was having kind of like good feelings because all the stress of school was left. They passed us all. They gave us passing marks in the semester, and then the summer was coming on, as it does out west. It comes on fast and in the spring, and so I was getting excited for summer, having my old cycle of coming out of the winter depression and coming up and feeling good, and then the edibles in the morning. I was smoking a lot of cannabis at that time, quite a lot. And I ended up getting in the bathtub, lit some incense, and jumped in the bath. And while I was there, I was just relaxing, and it was just feeling good in the bath. And I started to feel myself almost doze off, like a dream. And I was like, I kind of like panicked, and I was like, if I fall asleep in the bathtub, like, I could drown myself, right? Like I'd go underneath, and like I felt like I was going unconscious, not just to sleep, like but going unconscious in the bathtub. And I was like, I sort of panicked, and at that moment I panicked. It's something switched, and I like went into a different place, and all I felt was his hand on my back, and I looked over to my left from outside the tub, and like not really eyes open. I couldn't see anything in the bathtub. I was in another place. And I looked over, and it was my brother. And my brother passed away in 2011, and this was 2020. And I look over, and I was like, Jeff. I was like, what are you doing? I was confused. I was like, what are you doing? Why are you here? What's going on? Where am I? What's happening? And then all of a sudden, it just went to, I have all these questions for you, because at that time I was starting to like come to, and this was like, I have a question for you, and I want to know if you knew what the meaning of life was before you died. And that was the question that I had for him. And I didn't say anything. There's no verbal. It was just like a dream where I didn't have to say anything. It was just said. And he was holding me up so I couldn't go back into the bathtub, because I knew if I went back, I would start to intake water and drown. And he was holding me. He was cradling me. And then he just went like this, and he pointed over my brother's my uncle, but we're 9 months apart. And so he points over at his mom, my grandma, and she turns around in the old rocking chair. It's like a squeaky old rocking chair. And she turns around and she's a little old lady, and she turns around and she just smiles at me. And then I come to, and I just sit up in the bathtub, and I'm just like, what the fuck was that? And I just start crying. I just start crying. I just start crying. I just start crying. I was like, I don't know where I'm at. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm holding the walls, and like everything's still the same. The candle's going, the incense is burning. Nobody's up. It's dark. It's 5 in the morning, and I'm like, what was that? Like what just happened? And my whole brain just went and just on, and just everything woke up. And for the next 3 weeks, it was just like I was seeing the world in color for the first time. It was incredible. It was the most incredible thing I've ever experienced. There was no psychedelic experience that touched this. And I was diagnosed previous to that with bipolar 2. And so my therapist, a couple weeks later, we had a session, and he was worried I was manic. And I was like, I've been hypomanic. And I was like, this isn't anything like that. I don't have grandeur. I don't want to gamble my money away. I don't want to do crazy stuff. I was like, I was high on life. I was just sitting there going, this is amazing. Like, we're all here on this planet doing amazing things. And that's what I was like for 3 weeks. And maybe 3 months, but 3 weeks, like really, really high on life. And that experience, like, that was the changing point for me. That was the most incredible moment of ever. 8 months later, because I didn't get the answer I asked, he just pointed at my grandmother, at his mother. And 8 months later, I went home to try to reconcile a relationship with my mom. I hadn't talked to her for 2 years at that point. And so I tried to go home because I moved from Calgary to Cape Breton, bought a homestead, going to do the off-grid living thing, right? I was like, we're locked down. I'm going to be a homesteader, and I'm going to go away from society and run away. So tried to do that. And then I went home, and while I was home, I had trying to reconcile this relationship. Wasn't a great idea at the time. Wasn't. And then I went and stayed with my grandmother for 3 nights while I was home, which was great. We got to share a lot of stuff. But while I was having a falling out with my mom again, or an argument with my mom while I was there after the first couple of nights, I get a phone call, or a phone call comes down to the house, and we live 2 houses apart, like all Newfoundland, as everybody lives close to each other. And so my whole family like lives in this laneway area. And so she calls down, and she's like, tells my mom, she's like, yeah, whenever Justin, no panic, no rush, whatever, whenever Justin's ready, like I got something that I really want to share with him when he comes up, and just tell him to take his time, get his bag and all that stuff. So I was going to go stay with her for a couple nights because I couldn't stay down with my mom because we were just butting heads. And so I get up there, and she's in the middle room. There's 3 rooms in the back hallway, and she's in the middle room, which is Jeff's room, and that's where I was going to stay. And she said, yeah, come in, throw your bag there on the bed. And she's like, I was just here. And she connects with spirits, and so she's always connected with spirits. Nobody else does in the family. It's just her. And so she's like, yeah, I was just in here, just like I do, talking to Jeff and talking to Basil, her husband that also passed away. Both of them passed away from cancer. And so she's like, I'm in here just talking to Jeff and like looking at his pictures and stuff. And I'm over here by the bookshelf in the closet and stuff, and just looking at his pictures and talking to him and saying like, now, Jeff, like, I want you to watch over Justin and take care of him and things like that. Like, he's going through some stuff right now, but he needs your help. And she's like, when I was talking to him and telling him these things, like to watch over you, this book come out of the bookshelf on the other side of the room and falls on the floor and just opens up on the floor. And she goes over and she just looks at it, she picks it up and just puts it on the bed. And so when she called me to come up, she said, I don't know what this means. This is what happened, and this is the page. And so I looked at it, and there's 2 sides. There's his writing. I can tell his writing. And there's a highlighted section, and then I turn it over, and the other page has half a page, and it's done. And there's like multiple pages left. And so I'm like, well, that's the end of the book. And then she's like, yeah, but is there anything on that? So I look and I read the highlighted bit, and it was he stopped journaling just before he found out he couldn't take any more chemo, and because he found out the answer to life. And it said in the highlighted section, the greatest gift of life is life itself, and life is the gift. And I just read it and I just broke. It was the answer that I was looking for in the bathtub 8 months previous. And I was like, how the fuck do I answer that? Like, how do I give explanation to that? And those moments is what trajectory, like, just catapulted me onto what I do now. And is what was that? Was it multiple dimensions? Was it afterlife? I don't know. I have no idea. But it was real. It was, for me, it was real. It was like 100%. I couldn't tell you that it wasn't real. It's as real as me talking to you right now. And it was something.
I was, thank you so much for being very open and willing to share such a very personal conversation. And I believe you too. Like, as even before you got to the part where, your grandmother had the book fall off and all of that, even just talking about your experience in the bathtub and what you experienced there, 100% I was, you know, I definitely believe that that was a real experience. And it's so magical, like, and I love that, you asked him a question in this kind of dreamlike state. And he obviously couldn't necessarily tell you the answer in that particular moment, but he kind of did,
Mm-hmm.
because he pointed to your grandmother, which is like, she can help you, or she can show you the answer to the question that you have right now. I can't necessarily show you in this moment,
Mm-hmm.
but the answer will come. And that's I'm in awe. And
Yes.
it's stories like this, where do I go with this? When you're sleepy, as you put it, when you haven't woken up, you're not connected to what's beyond this physical reality. It's very hard to, I mean, I can't imagine myself there because I'm not there anymore, but there was a time where I was completely atheist. I didn't believe in anything, just completely the physical reality and nothing beyond. And then I started to appreciate nature and see that everything in nature is just so beautifully designed that there's no way that all of this was just by accident. I'm not saying that, oh, there's this magical being in the sky that just snapped his fingers and everything has happened. I do believe that the universe exists and that there's more beyond this physical reality. But it's stories like what you just told that really just makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. It's like, there is something more, that is like living proof that there is something more than just this physical reality. But yet your brothers or uncle, I was a little bit confused. I think you said you're just close in
I
age or whatnot.
Yeah, yeah, I call him my brother, but he's actually technically my uncle. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, because you grew up together, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, it's just beautiful, his message, and that he had the answer that you were looking for. And that's um, you know, life is the dream, basically, is what he's summing up, which is exactly what you're living.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, so I don't think you can top any of that. That was just beautiful. Liliana, what do you think?
No, I could feel like my whole body just like went like shivers, and that's when I know like and I could like feel your energy and your emotion as well. And I was like, oh wow, yeah, that's definitely a really profound experience. And at the same time, like you asking that question, and when we ask questions, when we're not necessarily going to get the answer straight away, but also maybe you weren't ready to get the answer. So your heart maybe wasn't open enough for you to receive it. But you needed that journey to go to your mum's and your grandma's, to have all the lessons or in between to then get that message from your brother, or your uncle. So yeah, everything's in works in mysterious ways. Because if we got it
Mm.
straight away, would we appreciate it
No,
um
I don't think
that
so.
much? You know?
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And it kind of
So
takes away then as well, like, what's the purpose of us being here? You kind of said it earlier. It's for us to live the human experience. And so if you're just told all the answers right away, then you're not actually getting to experience that. And it's kind of like when you're talking about with some of the psychedelics and whatnot, that you're hitting these, what did you call them, peak experiences where you're accessing potentially these other dimensions and whatever it may be. But it's really about living in the now and living in the experience that we're in. And I think that's a beautiful take home message for our listeners today is, we talk a lot on this podcast about dreams and learning from our dreams and all the cool experiences. I've had flying dreams, I've had out of body experiences, all these really cool non-physical physical things. But I do like that to bring it back to remembering that life is a dream and that we should definitely um, remember that. And so to live with intention, not just for your dreams, but really just to live, have intention to live a dream. And I like how you talked about earlier, um, you know, if this was a dream, what would you do? What would you be doing? And
Hmm.
I think that's a really powerful way to live.
Yeah, it's one of the ones that really stuck with me, and I believe that the person that married me, actually, me and my ex-wife, in I got married in Vegas, and so yeah, and then I went to the Himalayas to hike the Himalayas for my honeymoon. It was epic. But yeah, so it's like yeah, some of my life I'm just like look back and I'm like, what? When did I do that? So you talk about living a dream, yeah, most definitely. There's a lot of different dreams I've already had and lived. But yeah, he said that he ended up quoting, and I think it was I can't remember if he said it was John Lennon or someone. If you could dream any dream, what would you dream? And he said that at the end, and like it stuck with me ever since then. And the other thing about the dreams, oh, it's left me. Oh yeah, so that quote of if you could dream any dream, what would you dream? I really like. I lean back sometimes when I start to fall away or fall out of, I guess, alignment with myself, or I need some reminders. Is like some people go back and read the Bible or Scripture and stuff. Someone that I listen to is like always a rock for me is Alan Watts, and Alan Watts is so influenced by the Tao Te Ching, and Taoism that is like it comes back for me every time, as well as Zen Buddhism, and it's like those two philosophies is like it's my rock, it's where my foundation is for sure. So when he speaks about it, he talks about dreams, and he talks about a bit of like the Hindu side of things, Shiva's dream, the god Shiva of the trilogy Shiva. So as Shiva dreams and he falls into this dream, if you were to think of how you could create this creation as God, if you were God, so just try to imagine yourself as God, what would you actually create? So you create this and then you do it, and you create that and then you achieve it, and then you create this and you'd win, and you create that, and then it would get boring. And then after a while, you're sipping Mai Tais on the beach going, what's the point of all this? So what would you want to do? Is you would get so far out into your dream, you would push yourself so far out into your dream, you'd almost have amnesia and forget. And so you'd fall asleep. And that's the whole concept of the symbol or the metaphor or anecdote of Shiva falling asleep, is that we push ourselves so far to become an individual human that we forget who we were from the innocence of being a child, and we put ourselves asleep. And here we are supposed to wake up from our big egos that we've created and kind of got constructed into, told who we were as an individual. I'm Justin. Oh, you're Justin. But don't be too much Justin or you'll get out of line being Justin. And so when I start to think about that, I'm like, yeah, like this is made by this is the way we're constructed. This is the way humans are put together. We start at this point, we come into this world kicking and screaming, taking our first breath, and then we come through this sense of innocence, and then all of a sudden we get slammed into trauma or construction or like manipulation and molded into this thing and sit in that desk and don't say shit and then all of a sudden we have to be this good person and put on a mask and be fill out our persona, and then all of a sudden hopefully through different rituals of life is that we pass through. Women have birth, they give life, and they all of a sudden they have this life growing inside of them, and then it comes out, and they're like, "Holy shit!" Like I, I have to live for this. And it's like this connection, like literally the umbilical cord connection gets cut, and it's like this emotional connection stays. And then, so men then become fathers. This also happens, and then different rites of passage for men as well through life. But death is the final one. That would coming to your mortality, waking up to life, and seeing that this is a gift, this is a dream, and really seeing that this is what we're doing. And your dreams, what you guys are talking about, your dreams, your subconscious is trying to tell you that message in one way or another, in different ways that everybody will construct that story. But that's what it's trying to tell us. Hey, wake up. You're dreaming.
Oh,
Love that.
that's beautiful. I wanted to ask you one more question, but I think I like that's where the episode I think should end. It was beautiful how
Yes.
you just summed up that just then. And because it was funny because my question was just going to be, did you have anything else on your heart? But I'm pretty sure it just all came out from your heart right just then. So, what do you think, Billiana?
I think that's the perfect way to end the episode and this great conversation. So, and yeah, thank you for sharing everything about yourself that you shared. It's great to get to know people on a personal level to, not just about what they do and love, but also your experiences and to, open your heart up to share that experience and everything that you've gone through. So just want to say thank you for both of us. And yeah, it's really, really good to have these conversations. So yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you. You're welcome.
No, no, thank you. I echo Billiana. Thank you for your time and your vulnerability and everything you've shared. And this episode will be up within the next day or so because I like to get them up and ready. Do you want to tell us where people can reach you, hear more about your story, get involved with any of the things that you have going on, and we'll put all of that in the show notes as well. But if you just want to tell people what they should know about you.
Yeah, for sure. People can find me at Newfound Awakening. Newfound is one word, awakening. And sometimes it's Newfound Awakening Opus. And opus is Latin for work. And I believe that the work that we're doing is all about the integration of life. And this beautiful message has been my brand, but it's been my guiding light of continue to do the work. And that hard nosed, blue collar kind of mentality from Newfoundland is like get in the trenches and do the work. And with the connections of Newfound and then the awakening story I told you, this is where that name comes from. So Newfound Awakening. I no longer have a website, but I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is very much the corporate based, and then my email as well is newfoundawakening@gmail.com, and I can be reached on any of those DM or email. Always works. And yeah, if someone has been touched or felt by any of this stuff and they want to reach out, connect at all, then please do. I'm an open book. So
And do you like offer? I know you mentioned about some services and whatnot. Do you have any services that you're offering to anyone or?
yeah, so I'm always available for in the Maritimes, depending on where I'm at in certain moments within Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. Then Cambo, 5-MeO, other plant medicines, as well as virtual coaching like this. I'm always open to take people on at least a 30-minute coaching call to see if it's right, to see if we're a right fit together. And I just got back. I was just away for March and led a retreat for ayahuasca, an eight-day retreat, 7-night, 8-day retreat there. And I'm planning another one in December, the first week of December this year. So if people are interested in that, then please do reach out and we can go down it. I have a whole full ebook about plant medicine and ayahuasca and the journey and the Shipibo tradition, as well as a full pamphlet explaining like what is to break down the format, what that they can expect, how they can prepare, and everything. So it's all very comprehensive to prepare someone that if they're interested in joining me in Peru in December, then please do.
Awesome. Great. Well, we'll put all those details in the show notes. And thank you once again, Justin. Thank you, Billiana. Most importantly, thank you to our listeners and all of our supporters, especially in recent times. Our channel has been doing really well. So we really appreciate that we're bringing content that people actually like to listen to. And so if you'd like to be a part of our podcast or you'd have a topic you'd like to see us discuss, you can reach out to us through our website. That's dreamoracleforyou.com. That's the number 4 and the letter U. I just want to remind everyone that it's important to have your dream experiences, but don't forget to live your life as well and to live the dream. And so with that, keep on dreaming has 2 meanings, not just to your dreams at night, but also the dream that you're living every day. So everyone, thank you again and keep on dreaming.